My babysitter faked an armed home invasion to steal my safe, so my secret AI camera sent her boyfriend to federal prison. I was standing on my own front lawn, bathed in the frantic, strobing red and blue lights of 3 police cruisers, watching my babysitter violently hyperventilate under a thick orange shock blanket. She pointed a trembling finger toward my shattered kitchen window, her face stained with theatrical tears, entirely unaware that the iPad clutched in my right hand was currently playing a crystal clear 4K video of her rehearsing the exact angle to smash that very glass. I am a senior backend software engineer, and for the last 5 years, my primary obsession has been localized home automation and penetration testing. To the naked eye, my house looks like a standard, meticulously landscaped mid-century modern build nestled deep in a quiet, affluent suburb. But behind the drywall, it is a digital fortress. I don't use off-the-shelf, cloud-based security cameras that ship your data to third-party servers. I build my own local AI models. Every smoke detector in my home houses a hardwired, wide-angle 4K lens. The system operates on an isolated VLAN, running custom facial recognition scripts and audio trigger protocols calibrated to detect specific anomalies, like high-decibel glass breakage or unregistered MAC addresses pinging the network. I built this system because I am a single mother to 4-year-old twins, Leo and Maya. My career requires absolute focus, and my peace of mind requires absolute control. Last Thursday was the annual Women in Tech Regional Gala. It was a massive, high-profile industry event, the kind of night where venture capitalists circled the open bar and keynote speakers handed out heavy glass awards. I had been nominated for an architectural software design award, which meant attendance was mandatory. I needed a babysitter for exactly 6 hours. Normally, I rely on my mother, but she was out of the country on a cruise. So, I turned to the Digital Town Square, a highly exclusive, heavily moderated neighborhood Facebook group called Oakwood Estates Community Board. I posted a brief listing detailing my needs, the hours, and the hourly rate. Within 20 minutes, I had a glowing recommendation in the comments from a woman named Susan, whose profile picture showed a smiling woman holding a golden retriever standing in front of a colonial house. Susan tagged a girl named Tara, calling her a literal angel sent from heaven who had watched her own toddlers for the past 2 years. I messaged Tara. She arrived at my house 2 days later for an interview. She was 22, wore a thick knitted cardigan, spoke in a soft, musical cadence, and brought a small canvas tote bag filled with organic, allergen-free fruit snacks for the twins. She handed me a printed CPR certification card and smiled warmly as Maya immediately clung to her leg. She was the perfect candidate, a flawless, walking manifestation of maternal reliability. I hired her on the spot, handing over the spare key and a detailed schedule for the twins' bedtime routine. The night of the gala arrived. I spent 2 hours curling my hair, stepping into a heavy velvet evening gown, and reviewing my acceptance speech in the bathroom mirror. Tara arrived exactly 10 minutes early. I kissed the twins, told Tara there was $20 on the counter for pizza, and climbed into the back of an Uber Black. I felt a rare, fleeting sense of total relaxation. By 9 p.m., the gala was in full swing. The ballroom smelled of roasted duck, expensive champagne, and heavy floral centerpieces. I had just accepted my award, a heavy, jagged piece of engraved crystal, and was standing near the back of the room chatting with a former colleague when my Apple Watch violently vibrated against my wrist. I glanced down. It was a call from Tara. I excused myself, stepping out of the roaring ballroom and into the quiet, carpeted corridor near the coat check. I swiped the green button on my watch and brought my wrist to my ear. "Hey Tara, is everything okay?" I asked, expecting a question about the Wi-Fi password or where I kept the extra bedtime storybooks. A blood-curdling, guttural scream echoed through the tiny speaker. "Emily, come home. Oh my God, Emily, please come home right now." The heat rose instantly in my neck. My stomach dropped completely out of my body, leaving a cold, hollow vacuum in my chest. My vision actually blurred at the edges as pure, unadulterated maternal panic flooded my bloodstream. "Tara, what is happening? Where are the kids?" I shouted, gripping the heavy crystal award so tightly my knuckles turned a bruised shade of white. "2 men in masks," she sobbed, her voice cracking wildly, the sound of heavy, frantic breathing filling the background. "They smashed the kitchen window. They came through the back. They took your safe, your work laptop, and your jewelry." I grabbed the kids and locked us in the master bathroom. "Emily, please, I think they're still in the house. Stay in the bathroom. Do not make a sound. I am calling the police and I am on my way," I commanded, my voice dropping into a terrifyingly calm, robotic register. I hung up. I didn't say goodbye to anyone. I sprinted out the heavy glass revolving doors of the hotel, ignoring the confused shouts of the valets, and threw myself into the back of the first idling taxi I saw, shoving $100 bill through the partition grid and screaming my address. As the taxi tore away from the curb, tires squealing against the wet asphalt, I pulled my phone from my clutch. My hands were shaking so violently I dropped the device onto the floorboard before snatching it back up. I didn't open a cloud app. I opened a secure, encrypted terminal portal. I punched in my master override passcode and accessed my home's internal server. My first priority, my only priority, was the twins. I tapped the feed for the master bathroom. The screen flickered, the 4K lens hidden in the ceiling vent adjusting to the low light. There were my babies. They were sitting in the dry bathtub, looking slightly confused but entirely unharmed, playing quietly with a plastic dinosaur. Tara was sitting on the bathroom floor next to the tub, her phone in her hand. She wasn't crying. Her face was completely slack, devoid of any emotion, casually scrolling through what looked like Instagram. My brow furrowed. The adrenaline in my veins hit a brick wall of pure, digitized confusion. I switched the feed to the kitchen camera. The glass of the back door was indeed shattered. A massive, jagged hole gaped above the deadbolt. But the stolen item automated log on my dashboard hadn't registered a forced entry from the exterior. It registered a localized impact. I dragged my finger across the timeline scrubber at the bottom of the screen, rewinding the footage by exactly 45 minutes. The reality of what I was watching was so grotesque, so meticulously calculated, that I actually stopped breathing in the back of the taxi. The footage showed Tara, wearing her innocent knitted cardigan, casually walking into my kitchen. She opened my wine fridge, pulled out a $150 bottle of 2018 Cabernet Sauvignon, and poured herself a massive glass. She then walked to the front door, unlocked the deadbolt, and swung it wide open. A man walked in. He wasn't wearing a mask. He was wearing dark denim jeans, a black hoodie, and a silver chain necklace. He had a sharp jawline and a dark buzz cut. He kissed Tara on the cheek. They walked into my living room together. I watched in horrifying, high-definition silence as they sat on my custom leather sofa, sipping my expensive wine, holding a notepad. They were actively surveying my home. Take the Dyson vacuum. They resell for $300 on Marketplace, Tara said, her voice picked up flawlessly by the omnidirectional microphone hidden in the thermostat. Leave the television, it's bolted to the wall and too heavy. Grab the silver laptop on the desk, and the jewelry box is in the second drawer of her dresser. What about the safe? The man asked, walking over to the small fireproof lockbox I kept tucked in the corner of my office. It's light enough, Tara replied, taking another sip of wine. Just throw it in the duffel bag. We can crack it with a grinder back at the shop. I watched them casually pack a massive black canvas duffel bag with my possessions. My grandmother's pearl necklace, my backup hard drives, the Dyson vacuum, the small safe that held passports and birth certificates. Then, they walked into the kitchen. The man pulled a heavy metal meat tenderizer out of my utensil drawer. He raised it toward the back door window. Wait, Tara hissed, holding up her hand. She stepped back, analyzing the door like a film director setting up a practical effect. Hit the glass from the inside so the shards fall into the yard. If you hit it from the outside, the glass falls into the kitchen. It looks more authentic that way when the cops get here. The man nodded, took a step back, and swung the heavy metal mallet directly into the center of the window. The glass exploded outward, raining jagged shards onto the patio concrete. Perfect, Tara smiled. Okay, take the bag out the front door. I'm going to grab the kids, go to the bathroom, and call her. Give me 10 minutes before you text me. That's when the real bombshell dropped. I was sitting in the back of the speeding taxi, watching the streetlights strobe across the interior of the cab when my brain connected the final, terrifying dot. I minimized the security terminal and opened Facebook. I navigated back to the Oakwood Estates community board and searched for the name Susan, the woman who had recommended Tara. I took a screenshot of Susan's profile picture and ran it through a reverse image search database on my browser. The search yielded 17 identical matches. The photo belonged to a licensed real estate agent living in Scottsdale, Arizona. The profile was a phantom, a sleeper account created 6 months ago, slowly seeded with generic comments about local traffic and weather, meticulously designed to build absolute trust within a paranoid, wealthy suburban community. Tara hadn't just applied for a job. She had socially engineered her way into my home, bypassing every single physical lock and gated community checkpoint by weaponizing the localized trust of a mommy group. But Tara and her boyfriend had made one catastrophic, fatal miscalculation. They took the silver laptop. I opened a new terminal window on my phone. My fingers flew across the digital keyboard with the lethal precision of a sniper. The work laptop they had so greedily shoved into their duffel bag wasn't a work laptop at all. It was an old, heavily decommissioned Lenovo ThinkPad that I used exclusively as a honeypot for testing network security scripts. It was a digital bear trap, and they had just stepped right into the jaws. The machine machine was programmed with an aggressive, localized, stolen device, cron job. The script was simple. The moment the laptop's internal Wi-Fi card disconnected from my home router's specific MAC address, the protocol went live. As the taxi swerved off the highway exit toward my neighborhood, my phone screen flashed with a bright red push notification from my own private mail server. Alert, honeypot disconnect logged. I tapped the email. The script had worked flawlessly. The moment the boyfriend had walked out of range of my Wi-Fi, the laptop had silently booted from sleep mode. It had activated its internal cellular dongle to grab precise GPS coordinates. And, most importantly, it had silently activated the 1080p front-facing webcam. I stared at the image attached to the email. It was a beautifully clear, high-resolution photograph of the boyfriend's face, illuminated by the dome light of his car, taken the exact second he tossed the open duffel bag onto his passenger seat. He was looking right down into the lens. I didn't just have video of the crime. I had his real-time GPS coordinates, tracking his vehicle as it drove 3 blocks away and parked in a darkened strip mall lot, waiting for Tara to finish her performance. The taxi slammed on its brakes, jolting me violently forward against the seatbelt. We had arrived. My front yard looked like a war zone. 3 massive police SUVs were parked haphazardly on the manicured grass, their doors flung open, their light bars throwing blinding splashes of red and blue across the white brick of my house. Yellow caution tape was already being strung across the shattered back patio. I shoved a handful of bills at the driver, kicked the door open, and sprinted up the driveway, my velvet gown dragging through the wet grass. Ma'am, you need to stay back, a heavy-set police officer barked, stepping into my path and raising a hand to my chest. I am the homeowner. Where are my children? I screamed, genuine terror lacing my voice despite knowing exactly where they were. They are safe. They are with the EMTs in the back of the ambulance, getting checked out, the officer assured me, his tone immediately softening. Your babysitter is giving her statement to the lead detective right now. She's very shaken up. I pushed past him, my high heels clicking aggressively against the concrete walkway. I rounded the corner to the front porch. Tara was sitting on the top step. She was wrapped tightly in a thick orange foil thermal blanket, her knees pulled to her chest. She was sobbing hysterically, burying her face in her hands, her shoulders heaving with the effort of her performance. A tall, gray-haired detective was kneeling in front of her, holding a small steno pad, his face etched with deep, paternal sympathy. Emily, Tara wailed the moment she saw me. She threw the blanket off and practically launched herself at my legs, wrapping her arms around my waist. They were so fast, Emily. I couldn't stop them. They had crowbars. I just grabbed Maya and Leo and ran. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. She looked up at me, her eyes wide, glassy, and completely hollow. It was the face of a sociopath who firmly believed she had just pulled off the perfect heist. I didn't bend down to hug her. I didn't offer a word of comfort. I stood completely rigid, staring down at her with a look of absolute, freezing contempt. You did great, Tara, I whispered, my voice dripping with pure, toxic ice. I stepped backward, breaking her grip on my dress. I reached into my designer clutch and pulled out my iPad. I had remotely tethered it to my phone's hotspot while in the taxi. I brought up the security dashboard, maximized the kitchen feed, and turned the volume all the way up. I walked right past the sobbing girl and handed the heavy tablet directly to the lead detective. I don't need her statement, detective, I stated loudly, my voice echoing over the crackle of the police radios. I have the director's cut. The detective looked confused. He looked down at the iPad. From the tablet speakers, Tara's own recorded voice rang out, crystal clear in the crisp night air. Wait. Hit the glass from the inside so the shards fall into the yard. It looks more authentic that way when the cops get here. The sound of shattering glass erupted from the iPad, perfectly mimicking the destruction just a few feet away. The silence that fell over the front porch was absolute. The background hum of the idling police cruisers seemed to fade away. The detective slowly raised his head. He looked from the iPad screen, where Tara was actively pouring herself my $150 Cabernet, down to the real Tara, who was still kneeling on the concrete. Tara's face didn't just pale, it completely drained of all human color. The fake, theatrical tears stopped instantly. Her mouth fell open, her eyes darting frantically from the tablet to my face, to the 3 heavily armed officers suddenly stepping closer to the porch. The realization of her total, inescapable ruin hit her so hard she visibly swayed on her knees. That's doctored, she stammered, her voice suddenly high and reedy, devoid of all its previous musical warmth. She made that up. She's a computer person. Turn around and place your hands behind your back, the detective commanded, his voice entirely devoid of the paternal sympathy he had shown her 10 seconds prior. He unclipped the heavy steel handcuffs from his tactical belt. No, wait. I was forced, she shrieked, instantly abandoning the doctored video defense and pivoting to a panicked victim narrative. She thrashed backward, trying to scramble up the steps. He He made me do it. He threatened me. Save it for the interview room, the officer grunted, grabbing her left wrist, twisting it sharply behind her back, and snapping the steel cuff closed. Detective, I interrupted, pulling my phone from my pocket. Her accomplice isn't far. He's currently sitting in a dark blue Honda Civic in the parking lot of the strip mall exactly 3 blocks west of here. His license plate is JKL 892, and he is in possession of my stolen decoy laptop. The detective stared at me for exactly 2 seconds before raising his shoulder radio. Dispatch, all units. We have a suspect vehicle location. Blue Honda Civic, strip mall on 4th and Elm. Move in. It took exactly 4 minutes. While Tara was being shoved unceremoniously into the back of a cruiser, her wifey facade completely shattered, the police radio on the detective's shoulder crackled to life. We got him. Suspect attempted to flee on foot, apprehended behind the dumpsters. We have the stolen property in the vehicle. Later that night, sitting in the sterile, aggressively fluorescent-lit precinct interrogation observation room, the detective filled me in on the rest of the puzzle. When they had pulled the boyfriend out of the Honda, he had immediately tried to play dumb. He claimed he had just found the black duffel bag sitting in an alleyway and was waiting for a friend. The arresting officer hadn't argued. He simply pulled out his department-issued phone, pulled up the email I had forwarded them, and shoved the crystal clear 1080p webcam selfie of the boyfriend looking directly at the stolen laptop into the man's face. He stopped talking immediately, but the real victory wasn't just catching 2 local thieves. It was dismantling an entire digital syndicate. When the police executed a search warrant on the boyfriend's apartment the next morning, they didn't just find my safe. They found a massive whiteboard. On it were the names, addresses, and daily schedules of over 20 families in my immediate Tri-County area. Tara and her boyfriend weren't just opportunistic burglars. They were the architects of a highly sophisticated boutique burglary ring. They targeted high-net-worth neighborhoods with strict physical security but glaring social vulnerabilities. They used stolen identities to create sleeper accounts on Nextdoor and Facebook, generating an illusion of local community trust. They would plant Tara as a babysitter, cleaner, or dog walker. She would case the house, catalog the valuables, memorize the blind spots of traditional alarm systems, and orchestrate the perfect inside job. But their absolute greed led to their ultimate downfall. During her hour-long stint in my house, before the fake break-in, Tara had gone through my home office desk. She had opened my mail, taking photos of my bank statements, my W-2 forms, and my children's medical records, planning to sell the data to identity brokers on the dark web. Because of that single, catastrophic decision, the local district attorney didn't just charge her with breaking and entering. The FBI stepped in. Tara's charges were upgraded to federal identity theft, conspiracy to commit grand larceny, and wire fraud. The boyfriend faced identical charges, plus a weapons enhancement for carrying an unregistered firearm during the commission of the felony. Over the next month, the lead detective asked me to come back to the precinct. I sat in a conference room with 5 other exhausted, traumatized mothers from surrounding affluent neighborhoods. I brought my iPad. I played the crystal clear 4K footage of Tara's face. One by one, the women started crying. They pointed at the screen. Tara was the highly recommended house cleaner who had been working for them when their engagement rings mysteriously vanished. She was the dog walker present when their garages were randomly broken into. I didn't just protect my own home. I handed the authorities the digital skeleton key to lock these predators in a concrete box for the next 15 years. I used my paranoia to permanently sever their access to innocent families. I rigged my own home to act as a silent, digital predator. I deliberately laid a trap, sat back in a taxi in a velvet gown, and watched an entire criminal syndicate incinerate their own freedom in real time. Am I the monster here, or did she get exactly what she deserved?
If you have made it this far and want to see more videos like this, then kindly subscribe and turn on notifications so you may never miss another story like this.